All right, hello. Today we are going to create our own little scene. Kind of, this is like a preview of what your quiz is going to look like. But in order to do that, I had to find a level that we have all of our tools in. So this is going to be 9.7. So what we're going to do is we are going to delete all of the code in this level. Okay, and we're also going to go into the animation tab and we're going to throw away that mouse too. Okay, so I have blank work area and I have a blank animation. And we're going to just create a simple scene where we have two things talking to each other. And I like this guy, which I'm going to call Robot 1. And I'll find the other one facing the other way. I'm going to call that Robot 2. All right, so I have my two characters that are going to interact in this level. So I'm going to go into the code, and the first thing I have to do is create those sprites. All right, so I'm just going to call this one Robot 1 as well, and I want him to be somewhere, I don't know, in this vicinity, maybe 100, I don't know, 300. Let's try that. And if I were to just throw in a draw sprites right here, and I hit run, it's just a gray rectangle. Okay, I don't want that. I want this variable to be something. So I go into the set animation tab, or I'm sorry, in the sprites tab and get the set animation. I'm going to say, hey, that variable I just created, robot 1, I want to be my animation, robot 1. I just name them the same thing, but they don't have to be named the same thing. This has to match this. You can call this whatever you call it here. You can call it anything you want. Okay, but it probably should be something that you're going to understand. Maybe I should have called it robot right or something because I know it's facing right, but it doesn't matter. So now when I draw him, he's way too big for what we want to do here. And so we got to scale him down. So I'm going to drag in this scale, and I'm going to say, hey, I want the variable robot 1 to be a lot smaller. I'm going to do 0.25. Not bad. I still feel he's kind of big. Maybe 1.5. Yeah, that looks better. All right. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the second piece of my little sprite puzzle here, our robot 2. And over here somewhere, so maybe 250, 300. I'm just kind of eyeballing it here. And again, we got to set that animation to the second robot, the robot that's facing left. And now when I draw him, oh, still too big. We got to throw in the scale. Should be the same thing as the other one. There we go. So now they're kind of interacting. And now the other thing we're going to have to do in our scene is we're going to have to give them something to stand on. In this case, it's going to be the ground. So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. And the bottom of the wheels here look to be, I'm going to try 360. I'm going to see if I can get away with 360. It's probably 361, but maybe I'll do 361. So I'm going to draw a rectangle right there. And again, this is, if you look here, XY, where we want to put it. Remember, we place rectangles according to their top left corner. And we realize the Y is going to be at about 360 to 361. I'm going to do 361, and the X, though, is going to be way over here at 0. So that's going to be 0, 361. That should give me that. And then the height, if this is 360, what's left to get to 400 is 40, or in this case, 39, right? So the height is actually the second one, so this one. And the width, we want to be all the way across the screen, so that's 400. And actually, before we draw that, we probably want it to be a certain color. So, and boom. That looks pretty good. This guy looks like he's a little low, but that's all right. So we have our sprite, and let's say we want a background of, I don't know where could they be? I guess they could be in space, right? Look kind of like spacey. Oh, I got to put him, actually I want to do two things. I want to move the draw sprite down here. So I want to draw the background, I want to draw the cement, and I want to then draw the sprites, so the sprites are in front of the background. Boom. And there we go. And then the other thing we want to do for this little quiz is we want to make them move around. So I click on the world here, and I'm going to pull this draw function in. Okay, so this is what's going to cause it to loop. All right, and a couple of things that we've been kind of confusing: the variable creation here, and what we want how big we want them to be, how we want them to face when they start out. If you have to maybe roll like the mouse one, right, where you kind of got to rotate it early. All of that stuff, because it's not really a part of what we're drawing per se. This is the part we're drawing. It stays out of the draw loop. Okay. Now these shapes we're adding for part of our background, they need to go in because we're going to be drawing them over and over again. And the background needs to go into the draw loop because you're going to be drawing that over and over again, so you don't see the shadow of the, in this case, our robots moving. So I'm going to copy these and drag them in to the draw loop. And then we got to make these things do something. All right. I think the first thing that you learned was just kind of making them jiggle with the random number. But at this point, we're kind of getting into this sprite movement. You guys have seen it. So I'm actually just going to have these guys cross. They're just going to go past each other. All right. And that is going to use the counter pattern. All right. So I am going to, they're going to be moving along the X. So they're going to be moving horizontally. So I'm going to drag in a sprite X. And in this guy's case, he's going to be moving forward, which if you look at the screen at the bottom, if you look right over here, X is increasing as we move to the right, as we move forward in this case for this guy. And so I want in the math, I want the plus. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to sprites, and I'm going to drag in another sprite X. So this is going to be robot 1. And so is this. And I'm basically saying this new position is going to be the old position plus, let's say, 2. Okay. And now I'm going to do the same thing for this other robot. He's going to move along the X, along the X. But because if he moves this way, these X values right here, these X values are getting smaller. So we actually want to subtract in this one. If you goop it up, you can always just change the sign of this number you put here. So it's not a huge deal, but it does look cleaner when you have the right sign there. So again, I got to drag in another sprite X. That's kind of boring. I just had an idea. Why don't we have this guy like fly? Why not, right? So we can do a Y so you see the difference. That'll be more fun. So I'm going to drag in a Y. Boom. Boom. All right, so this is robot 2. Robot 2 is going to fly. Robot 2. And this is actually a good exercise about how this Y works too. So what a lot of us think is we think of our math class and 0 being down here, where when you go right, you're increasing the X, and when you go up, you're increasing the Y. But our 0, 0 is actually up here in this, right? So when we're moving up on the screen, the Y value is actually decreasing. So here's the middle of our sprite. It's at 322. If he's going to fly upwards, his Y value, if you look down here, his Y value is getting smaller. So we actually are going to be subtracting here, even though we're moving up. All right. So what's going to happen is it's going to draw the background. It's going to draw our gray little cement here, and it's going to have these robots moving. So this guy's going to go here. This guy's going to go up, and it's going to keep doing that over and over again. Okay. In fact, well, let's just show what it should look like. Boom. So he flies. Yay. That's kind of cool. And what I wanted to show you is if you, and this was going to be hard to see because the background's black, maybe I'll change that. We'll see what happens. Oh, it's still there. All right. So what's happening is because we are not redrawing the background every time, we can see the shadow of this sprite as it goes across. So every +2 here is being drawn. It's not being drawn over. And that's actually what happens when we do this counter pattern. All right. The reason we don't see it is because when we throw the background in here, it actually covers up all these. So you draw this, maybe this +2 here, and then the background covers it up so you can get to see it. And that's why it actually looks like they're moving. All right. So you're going to have to mimic this process tomorrow for your quiz. Okay, it doesn't have to be the same exact thing. You can pick any 2 sprites you want. They don't have to move this way. They can move using any of the counter patterns you can come up with, or that random number where they just kind of jiggle. Okay, I don't care how you do it, but I need to see a shape on here. I want to see the variable creation outside the draw loop, and then again the shapes, how you're having the sprites move, and the draw sprites will be inside this draw loop function. I hope this video helps, and we'll see you guys next time.